Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're talking about
returning RPG players.
Returning RPG players.
Yes.
I can't read upside down today.
Returning TTRPG players.
That's not what you told me it was called. You told me it was called Old Players Coming Back.
I'm trying to be respectful, Jolene.
To which I said, do you mean geriatric players?
I don't know anybody named Jerry. You know that. Okay, so we're talking about people who you probably played when they were young.
When they were a teenager.
Teenager. That's a good one. A teenager, and then they probably go away to college. They don't have time to game. And then after college, they hook up with somebody, and then they have kids, get married, have kids, and they don't got time to game because they're adults and doing adulting things. And then as their light is slowly fading.
Their light?
Their light. Their fun is fading. They re-encounter or rediscover role-playing games again. You know, we're talking about usually D&D, but there's other games around. And they remember that they liked playing these games.
Nostalgia.
Well, there's that, right. But they also remember that they used to have a lot of fun with their friends playing these games. And some people come back to playing games. And this is, you hear this story over and over again about people returning to play role-playing games after a long absence.
I could say that sort of describes me because I played with my brother because they needed somebody to play with them.
That's right.
And then I thought that was it.
Thought you were over.
And then I married you.
And even then, after you married me, you let me do all my role-playing geeky stuff after a while. But then
I never stopped you from doing anything.
No, that's what I'm saying. But then you're like, for whatever reason, I don't remember exactly what was the impetus.
Well, there's two reasons.
Okay, two reasons.
One, you went to a convention when Augustine was like 4 months old.
I think it was
and
that.
I told you that was never happening again without me.
Yeah, she said either we all go or
none of us go.
Well, I guess we're all going. So in the next convention, we all went.
And we've been doing it for 22 years now with my child.
Yes.
But the other thing was when Augustine started playing, it made me go, oh yeah, I remember how much fun this is.
Right. Yeah. So your son brought you back, really.
Well, he was like 5, so what can you do? I want to play role-playing, Mommy.
There you go. So for whatever reason it is, there's multitudes of reasons why somebody would want to come back or would come back to playing role-playing games. And I think role-playing games, if you're older, it's been a long time, right? Like, the reason this is even a topic is because one listener said that they have a friend of theirs that come back to gaming. They used to game when they were teenagers and hadn't played for like 40 years. So they started playing, and he was having a difficult time getting back into the swing of things and feeling like he wasn't pulling his weight or wasn't being an adequate player. And I think that can happen because the game has changed a little bit, right? Before, especially if you're playing from 40 years ago, you're playing in the late 70s or early 80s, and you were playing AD&D, which was a really tactical, well, sort of tactical. It was a combat game, and even though some people say D&D is still a combat game, which I don't disagree, but back then it was even more, It was more tactical, more
simulation.
More simulation
of a war game.
And more war game-ish. And if you played like me and my brother did, like original D&D, where it was a Dungeons and Dragons, that's all there was really, was dungeons.
And if you ran into a dragon, you were out of luck, dude.
Well, I don't think we ever ran into a dragon back then. And there was, the famous caller, right? There's the person in charge. You're not even supposed to talk to the GM. It was this intermediary.
I never experienced that, but I know you did.
Intermediary. This was
only one person is speaking.
No, only one person is allowed to speak to the GM, and I choose who that is. But anyway, we never really played that way, right? That was something I experienced when I went to a club that they played at.
When you begged your brother to take you.
Me, and I go, I don't even want to go back. It was terrible. Anyway, so if you come from that kind of background, right, where things were a lot of hack and slash and stuff, and now more games these days are more, use the word, touchy-feely.
I knew he was going to say that.
I knew you I was going to say that. See, I knew that you knew that I was going to say that. So with that kind of change in the way that games are played, somebody might feel out of place or not recognize the game in a sort of in a way that they're like, this is not the game we played or how we played it. So that a person might feel uncomfortable or a little bit inadequate about.
I think the analogy that you're looking for is when you learn to ride a bike. If you stop riding a bike for a long time and you go back to riding a bike,
right?
You got to practice again so that you're good at it.
I don't know. I've never done that.
Whatever.
I think if I were to ride a bike again, I could ride a bike, no problem.
I know, but you think that, but it may not be true.
Well,
it may be uncomfortable sitting on the bike seat. You may not like the way the bike feels. You might feel like you're going to fall, even though you probably wouldn't. So practice would make it perfect, right?
Oh yeah. You're right. You might. I wouldn't go like on a BMX track right now, but
I would hope not.
I would go.
There would be a trip to Kaiser involved if you did.
Yeah, I don't know who I was talking to. I think it was my sister, who's a little bit older than me, quite a bit older than me, I should say. And we were talking about somebody falling and dying, right? Because they hit their head or whatever. And she's known a couple people that's happened to, or people closely linked to her through associations, and it's because older people are more brittle. Their bones are more brittle. They lose calcium or something, whatever. So falling is something that I would worry about now off a bike than I much more than I ever did when I was a kid. I remember I T-boned somebody on a bike, and I just went flying over the handlebars.
Hey, that happened to me one time when I was a teenager riding my bike to school. We were in this gravel path.
Oh wow!
And I couldn't get my bike because it was gravel, right?
Yeah.
And you were like stuck in your space, and it was like in slow motion. And I ran right into we ran into each other because neither one of us could move. And I went head over the handlebars.
Yeah.
I was fine. I had a couple bruises, but now I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, my story is pretty close to that, except I was in the front of my grammar school, and it was all cement.
Oh.
And I just remember going, oh, and I must have done
in slow motion.
Yeah, I must have done the infamous tuck and roll.
I did the tuck and roll myself.
The tuck and roll. I don't know, because all I did was I rolled somehow, and I got up, and I was like, not a scratch on me.
But I'm an expert at the tuck and roll because I have a trick ankle that goes out every once in a while.
That's terrible. Yeah, I will attest that her ankle will pop out at any time.
But I wouldn't tuck and roll now. I don't think I'm not as agile.
That's what I'm saying.
Is
that right now I wouldn't be so confident in my tuck and roll ability.
Anyway, besides talking about your old age over here, Saul.
So that's the problem, right? When you're older, you might feel a little bit different than when you were younger. And as far as the game, the way you remember it, it would be different than if you ran it these days.
I guess it would depend on this person that you're talking about, whether they're playing with people like 20-year-olds or if they're playing with old guys like themselves, right? And it depends on if they know the people or not. So I'm often more uncomfortable playing with people I don't know.
Right, of course.
And I always feel a little inadequate until I actually start doing it. And then I'm like, okay, it's just like, because you don't know the people. So you're like, I don't just jump right into the role playing. Saul's making faces at me like I'm lying. Or something.
I think you're wrong. I think it depends on. Well, you're right. It depends on who you know at the table, right? Because we played this game. It was like a Star Trek clone game. And you, me, and we knew the GM, Jonah.
Yeah.
And you had no problem speaking.
One of my favorite GMs, by the way.
So you had no problem talking or.
Oh no, but I know Jonah. And
but half of the table you didn't know.
That's true. I didn't know a lot of the people, but I had no problem. You were there. Jonah was there, and so I didn't.
What else was there to worry about?
Yeah, but no, I totally understand. But when I once played a Doctor Who game.
Oh yeah, I remember that game.
And the people were like, and I'm a big Doctor Who fan, but these people were like way beyond my reach, and I was like. And I remember Matt Steele says, you were very quiet in the game. And I go,
oh, he was playing?
Yes, he played. And I was like, and I thought, I was very quiet. I was like going, I was like in awe of, the people and what was going on. And I was like, whoa, it was just so weird for me. So I did feel inadequate in that game because I was like kind of shock and awe of what was going on.
I understand that, especially when with people who are super fanatical, but they are super fans. Let's call them super fans, and they're pretty decent at role playing. They'll really get into it.
Yeah.
And so in that situation, you will find yourself feeling a little bit like, ugh.
Well, I was like awe. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And I'm like going, and I was just like, whoa, my brain like stopped, and I was like watching what was happening versus role playing in it.
Right. There was this one guy who played, and there's been quite a few players like this, but there was one guy who really got into one of the characters that I made for the Western game I ran, right? And because I like running with 6 people, or at least 6 people, not at least 6 people, but
for
making it available
game.
for the convention for 6 people, the more the merrier. Long ago, I used to run 8, but that has gone out the window. So I run with 6 people if it's a full table, and one of them I had made up my own, because the other ones I used pre-gens from the book. I changed the stories a little bit, but they're pre-gens from the book. And I made one from scratch, and people just love that character. He's kind of patterned after Doc Holliday, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think I call him Kansas City Jack or something like that. So anyway, this one guy was really into the character. He had his own type of
kind of
candor
drawl,
to the draw and everything. And because I've never been to Kansas City, I don't know how they talk over there, especially in the Wild West, right? So there was that kind of country, kind of like Doc Holliday, right? In that sense, and he was really good, and it was really funny, and he came up with these crazy ideas, which were really neat. And so it could happen even to a GM who's like, "Wow, this guy is really into it." You know, the players. And that's happened to me quite a few times. So what do we do with this player who's come back and it feels a little like not pulling his weight, if you want to use that term?
Well,
at the role-playing
just
table.
As my perspective, he probably is pulling his weight, or she is pulling her weight, and it's just in their head that they feel uncomfortable that they're not actually doing it.
Right.
But also, if anybody at the table with them realizes this is happening, they should make sure to say, what do you want to do?
Right. There's all kinds of things that you would make them feel more comfortable.
Right.
And as another player at the table, you probably should work at making that player more comfortable.
And that technically is not your responsibility as a player.
No.
As a GM, you should say, if you notice that they're not speaking up, you should say, what would you like to do now? That kind of thing, right? To include them. But as players, we are all responsible to make sure we are having fun, and everybody else at the table try to give them the best chance to have fun. So you could do the same thing, right?
Yes. So I did make some notes. I said, what can happen at the table to make sure that this player isn't like intimidated by your fantastic role-playing skills, right? And GMing skills. That's it.
He laughs at that.
By the GM, well, you make explicitly inform the players that there's no wrong way to play, right? Of course, there's going to be some limitations as far as the game world reality, right? There's the game world reality where if you're playing in a, let's say, post-apocalyptic world, then you're not going to be able to order fried steak and eggs at your local restaurant, or like
you may, but they may not be what you think they are.
Oh yeah, exactly, irradiated eggs. Or if you're playing like a modern day fantasy, that even if you want to, you can't just flap your arms and
your
fly,
wings,
and think you're gonna fly, and that kind of stuff, silly things like that. But inform them that as long as you're doing what's within the idea of the setting and ability, the real world, the game world reality, then you can do and attempt anything you want. And I think a lot of players who come back don't feel that way. They feel like, I'm supposed to, I have a role, or I'm a fighter, so I'm only supposed to fight. Those kind of things that happens they used to happen a lot, quite a bit when we were playing. When
you were a kid?
When I was a kid. And now it's like, well, no, we're not limited to what's just on the paper.
Right. Well, I think a good example is our Friday nights group. We were playing a D&D 5th edition game and a campaign, and we have 3 Dragonborn. And I never really thought about Dragonborn flying, but we actually, one of our last event, I don't remember if it was the last one or the one before, but we actually got, I got taken when Mike picked me up, and because he was going to go off by himself and he always gets hurt. I'm like, no, take me with you. So he picked me up and he flew me, right? And then the other 2 Dragonborn Tom picked up Felipe, and he had him and he put him on his back. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I thought it was fascinating. I had not even,
because I had never thought about that, but I'm like, well, Mike, I don't want you going out there by yourself. And I knew that they can fly because they had done it before. They had taken us over something. So I'm like, oh, let's do it. So then Felipe and
it was a flight of dragons.
It was a flight of Dragonborn.
It was really cool. The idea that they had, and to me, I envisioned that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty neat.
I thought it was kind of scary myself because I was being taken by a Dragonborn over water.
Yeah,
and I could have been dropped at any time,
very icy water.
killed by the sorcerer that we were going to attack.
That is true. Or if he had gotten injured,
yeah, it would have been harder to help him over the ocean, that kind of thing.
Especially when you're in the ocean.
But everybody it was hilarious, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
and then we had because both Tom and Felipe both play magic users. So does Mike, but they were throwing fireballs as they were flying, and I thought that was pretty cool because that's just like an amazing thing to see, right? Fireballs.
I think a lot of people realize that after a while, after you play any role playing game for a while, that it's easy for little kids to role play, right? To play make believe. Because there's no sense. They have a sense of silliness, but there's no sense of shame in that silliness, right? And I think that's something that we learn as adults is like, probably one reason why a lot of people stop playing is, that's a kid thing, and we put away kid things when we grow older.
That's what one of my salesmen always tells me. You go to gaming conventions? Why do you do that? I'm like, oh, dude, it's fun.
Is this the guy who plays baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How about that? He's like, how old? He's older than me.
Yeah. He's Felipe's age.
He should stop playing. He should stop playing
He's
baseball.
Not going to do that
when he was out of college.
But that's an acceptable sport.
Yes, it's manly. Okay, so you're right. Exactly that. Right. There's this idea that that's silly. Why? This is just board games. He doesn't even know role playing games. Really,
he does. Well, I don't know if he knows what role playing games are, but I've
like
explained it to him. Like Felipe is all. You've been around us for all of these years, and I know you've asked this question before, and you just roll your eyes and don't even listen to what we're saying.
And she didn't.
She rolled her eyes. I thought it was hilarious because she rolled her eyes when he said that.
Yeah, there was no concept. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. So you're right. I'm right. That I think it's hard. It's hard for adults to be silly, to let go of these societal norms that tell you you're an adult, act like an adult.
I think it's easier if you get back into role playing when you have a kid. Because if the kid is role playing, it's easier for you to be able to explain to them how to use their imagination, right? By giving them an example of you doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes it and it's less intimidating. It's less feeling inadequate, right? Because you're playing with kids and they have these crazy ideas, and you're like, okay, let's go with it.
Right. Well, and another thing is because you're doing it with a child and it's your kid or your friend's kids or something, then it's acceptable for you to be there at the table being a silly man or silly woman. But like
with our Friday nights group, they're all old. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But they have as much imagination as my son ever had, and it's amazing just to hear some of the things that they come up with. Sometimes they have to overanalyze stuff, but I try to, get them to go sometimes. So.
I never try to overanalyze stuff. Okay, so another thing is, just like college, I think, there are no dumb questions or actions within the genre. Like I was saying, if you do things that is acceptable in the world, not acceptable, but believable in the world, then it should be possible.
That's one of the things I like when Bay runs games, like the One Ring game. Yeah. He always goes... Because Cowie's like, well, I have these stats, and Morgan's like, okay, who has the best? And he's all, no, just tell me what you want to do.
Yes.
and then you're like,
Without looking at your character
without
sheet.
looking at what you're good at. Just tell me what you want to do. And I'm like going, oh, that really, I can tell you what I want to do, but I probably won't accomplish it.
Well, that comes from Morgan. He's very, I don't know how I would describe him as a role player. I think he wants the best chance of success.
Yes. And he
Right.
has these great ideas.
Right.
And he's like, well, I have this idea. Who's the best person that could do it? Right.
Right. And then Cowie, she is very analytical, right? And so when we are at a crossroads or have, we are up against something, whatever that may be, she also wants to know the best person for the job, or what is the best skill or what ability goes best with what you're trying to accomplish. And Bay's like, no, we're just role playing. Just what does your character do? And then he even like, don't look at your character sheet. And so I knew what he was trying to do,
Right.
and I was like, but they almost ignored him, and they kept looking down at their sheet, going, "Well, my heart is only 3 or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well, I already know what my stats are, so when he says don't look at your character sheet, I don't have a problem with that. I'll tell him what I want to do, and then he'll go, do it with this. And I'm all, I don't have anything in that. I can't do it.
that is a tough one, because I do the same thing. There's certain skills that you have,
Right.
or have points in, and some you don't. And
I can roll the 12-sided dice and
all
hope for
by
a
itself.
Gandalf.
Yes, exactly. And you're like, oh, that's not going to work.
I'm all,
The chances are 1 in 2. I don't know what that relates in percentages, but I don't think it's very good. So I can understand that, and even I fall into that trap. Like, well, I don't have any cunning or whatever, and Morgan's character does. He has 3 little diamonds in it, so he's much better at it than me. Yeah, but you're the one that came up with the idea or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe he can follow me.
follow me after I have died.
Yeah, after I have failed, he goes, "This is how it's done." Saul's character. So I think there's this idea that there's a right answer or dumb questions and stuff. And this is from college, right? The professors always, especially if you're going to university, there are no dumb questions in this classroom. If you are thinking about asking a question, I guarantee there's at least 2 or 3 other people that are having the same question.
That is totally true.
And that's totally true, because a lot of times I was like, and then somebody would ask a question. I go, oh, okay, good. I don't have to raise my hand. So
I was always the person raising my hand. Going,
of course. And then people go, oh, I'm glad you asked that question. I didn't know. Yeah, that does happen. Of course. And then let's switch to the players, right? Because they're not responsible, but these people are your friends, or people your acquaintances, or even if they're not, you should be nice to people who are playing with you at a gaming table.
Yeah.
So be welcoming, of course, to the player. Even if you played with them 40 years ago, welcome them back to your table.
Yeah.
And say, hey, it's good to see you again. I'm glad you're here, right? That kind of stuff. And I think it's pretty important, because there's going to be some apprehension, especially from any length of time. They're like, well, I don't know if I'm any good at it, that kind of stuff. They may. Some people may not. They'll just jump right back into it and have no problem. Like I said, be kind to the player and show some. If they show any apprehension about doing something, you don't have to like coax their words out of them, but say, well, what were we going to say? Or, that kind of stuff. And I think just that kind of action by the other players will help the new player, or the player that comes back, be more comfortable, just letting go of the stigma of being silly and all that.
well, I could say that when you're playing games, whether you're playing role-playing games or just like Mexican Train, which we were playing yesterday with your family, some people are like, don't help them. And I'm like, oh, but if I don't point out what the pips are on the dominoes, it's going to take us a lot longer. And this is a long game anyway. And I would like people to, get their dominoes out. I don't really care who wins. It's a dominoes game. And some people were not happy with me for helping people, but sometimes you just, you're like, oh, what do you think? Do you think you could do this? Or what do you think? Should we do this? And then just bring people in.
Yes.
Whether it's a dominoes game or a role-playing game.
Yeah, some people, depending on the situation, right? if you're with a bunch of people who, let's say, I can't think of anything right now. Oh, for example, we used to play in a Seven Wonders tournament at a KublaCon.
Yes.
And at first, I was very helpful to anybody who had questions. I go, yeah, this is, but in the competitive, well, it's always going to be competitive.
A tournament.
It's a tournament, but even more competitive. I actually started helping this one lady who kept asking me questions. And what was happening was she was distracting me from my own game plan. And I think I squeaked by on that one. And then I noticed that
That's just the way she plays.
Yes.
She distracts the people on both sides of her.
And then because the other person just, I can't help you. I gotta do my thing. And so she was really questioning me. And then what happened was I saw her, because I advanced barely, and so did she. And then I saw her at another table, and she was doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then I could hear
I told Kathy when she sat next to that lady, do not engage with her. But Kathy can't help it. She's like, she's asking me questions. I'm all, don't answer her questions. Just say, I don't know, and move on.
It was weird because she was at a different table, but she was right next to me.
Right.
I mean, right next. We were playing.
She was still distracting you.
No, she was. She was. But then I heard her ask the same questions that she asked me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then I had talked to you, and it was totally true. She was being.
Yeah. I sat next to that lady a couple of times. She stopped asking me questions because I just ignored her completely.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't have time to deal with you, lady. If you're in a tournament, you should know how to play.
Yes, that was the thing. I mean, in that situation, you're not necessarily going to be helpful and stuff like that. But when you're role playing in the game, of course, you want to be helpful to the fellow players.
I can tell you that one time I played the big game of Settlers of Catan. And me and this guy, his name was War. His name really wasn't War, but that's what he went by. We're next to each other, and we were playing with a couple. And then the guy was running the game. So
was the guy running the game playing?
I don't remember, but I know that the couple kept trading with each other, and they wouldn't trade with us. So War looked at me and goes, well, that's not fair. So we started trading with each other and stopped trading with them because
we never could trade
with them. So the dynamics around a table, whatever game you're playing, are always going to be interesting. What the people are. So it's the same when you're doing role playing, right? Everybody has their own kind of style and stuff.
Well, yeah, you're right. It is dependent on the people at the table.
Yeah.
I have here, for returning players, choose games and adventures that are not too serious and lighter and fun. And I think this is because it's harder.
If it's a dark matter
serious,
or something.
They got to get emotional and stuff like that, where cracking jokes and being silly is easier, I think, than these heavy moral quandary games. Moral dilemmas, yes, exactly. So I would pick a lighter game. I would, there's no, what is it? I'm not talking
no right or wrong.
Yeah, but there's no study
dilemma.
No study on this that I can point to other than my own personal experience. And I think the way people I know are wired is that I think it's easier for them to have fun playing a silly or lighthearted game, especially when they're coming back to playing. So what is heavy, right? What is a heavy game? I would say a post-apocalyptic game. That's pretty brutal, and there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, when you have to
survival games like a zombie game, like not Day of the
Unless
Dead.
the people really like a zombie game,
Right? That's true. World War II, especially any kind of World War II, because it's heavy.
I don't know.
Terrible
Weird
things.
War might be a more lighthearted game.
That's weird.
Killing werewolves and stuff. I don't know.
Okay, in that sense, yes, I think any horror game. Werewolf, Vampire the Masquerade, those kind of games.
Well, yeah, but you could go with a Monster of the Week game like Supernatural.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There, of course, there's going to be some exceptions. And then what are lighter games? Tales from the Loop, we just played not too long ago. Outgunned, Feng Shui, that bear game, that one page.
The bear game?
Honey Heist.
Honey Heist,
yes,
yeah.
and stuff like that. So, but and I'm not saying you shouldn't they shouldn't be invited to play heavier games, but if they're just coming back to role playing, then I think the first games that they should play,
give them a murder hobo game.
Yeah, something simple. Also, I think you should remember that sitting for a long time sometimes can be difficult for older players. and take a break.
He's specifically speaking about me.
No. I was just looking at you because you're in front of me. But I think people are not used to. I don't think people are used to sitting for a long period of time. Just people get up and move around, and some people might find it difficult to sit there for 4 to 6 hours straight. So make sure you take a break, either to use the bathroom, stand and stretch and stuff like that. Just saying, it's a good tip for anybody and everybody.
Well, I think that a great example of a player that's come back to play is our friend Tom. He has come back and he's been playing with us, and I don't know if he feels uncomfortable or anything like that, but I know that you guys have just said, okay, what are you doing? And let's go. And so he kind of got put back into it, like with straight into the fire, right? Because I think the first game that he came back and played was Outgunned, which here. I think he had so much fun because everybody was
on fire on that one.
You started in media res, and we just went. And although I have heard some people don't like the dice system recently.
Well, the problem I had is that it was hard to get doubles.
It was hard to get doubles and triples, yeah.
Or even a pair of dice.
It was, and you're rolling like 6 dice.
We were rolling. Were we rolling in real life? Or we were using that?
It depended on
where they were, huh?
Yeah.
They were rolling real dice.
Yeah, Mike and Tom were rolling real dice. I was rolling real dice.
And still you guys are sucking.
Yeah. That was the only bad part, was the whether you could make your roll or not.
Yeah, it was like constantly they were missing their rolls, and I was like, is this the way the game's supposed to go?
But that's what happens in all games. Like, I don't know if you remember, but when we were playing Feng Shui the last time, we played with Morgan and some people that we didn't know. And I know Morgan and I were not making our rolls at all.
Oh, that was brutal.
It was very brutal. I finally had to just use my whip because I had a special ability with it. And those were the only rolls that I made. So. Yeah,
we kept rolling a 6 on the negative die.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Really bad. Really bad.
So a lot of times that has nothing to do with anybody's role playing skill. That just has to do with the dice, right?
Yes.
So.
But you role play that out, right? You role play the negative aspects of the game. But this is an action game, and so thinking of something exciting happening when you fail could be fun. But it was like, wow, you failed! Like it was across. All
board, all players,
tables, and dice. Because some people were online and they were rolling the electronic dice.
Yeah, it was the same. Yeah,
even with the re-roll ability in the game. Yeah, so he started playing with that in real life, and then I know Mike, his brother, was like, "Hey, you should play again. You should play." And then he finally and then he's retired. Right, that was another thing.
Just recently,
within the last half a year or whatever.
So hopefully he's having fun and enjoying it.
I think he is. I think it always takes a little bit of a slow start, because especially if you're like barely starting to role play, it's kind of almost the same thing, right?
It's the riding a bike analogy,
yes.
Saul.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But then like, and I can see how some people might be intimidated, because like Tom was just thrown in with a whole bunch of crazy players, right? We were playing a game and Saul chopped off somebody's head because
they were already dead. They weren't alive.
And I was like, me and Sip were with him going, what are you doing?
Oh my God. Like, my friend Sip was like, oh my God, how savage. I'm like, oh, what are you clutching the pearls? Get out of here. And I'll explain this again, because I know I've explained it. So we were given money to hunt down these bandits. They get more money if they're alive, but this guy had already been dead. And then proof.
He had already been dead because Saul killed him.
Well, because he wouldn't give up. So then I said, okay, he's dead, and we got to hide the body anyway. And to prove that he was that
you killed him,
because you get money killed if you're killed. We have to present the body. I go, well, we're not going to lug. We can't lug bodies. We don't have horses. There's no sled.
So he proceeded to take out his axe and chop off his head.
It seemed the most prudent thing to do. A bag of heads is much lighter than 6 bodies. Right?
Which made me and Sip go, ew. So Tom's been thrown into this kind of a situation where everybody's like a little bit over the top, right? So I hope he's having fun.
Well, I was going to mimic the great scene from Lord of the Rings, where it was release the prisoners, and I throw out the heads on.
Oh, you're such a dork.
That would have been pretty funny, but we never got that far because
We stopped to play something else.
Yes. Anyway, yes, I think if you are coming back to role playing, just
Have fun.
have fun. I think that's the ultimate goal. That's why we
You should never be
games.
intimidated by the other players or anything
Nah.
like that. They're just like you.
They're making stuff up, just
Especially
like
if you've
they-
played with them before. I mean,
Yeah.
even if it was a long time ago. So good luck. If you aren't role playing, you should go find some place to play. And if you are, have fun. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul,
Angeline.
and you have a good day.